How do you support a partner with trauma? This is for the people who have felt like they've had a pretty stable life experience. Of course, we all experience varying degrees of trauma, but some of us do have partners who have experienced violence, who have experienced abuse, who have experienced mental and emotional abuse that maybe we have not experienced that degree to. So how do you support them? Because honestly, I know you love them and I know you just want to help. This is going to be a big one, and it's probably going to be a series, so stick around, but this is part one in no particular order of intensity or chronological stuff, because trauma doesn't work logically, so why should I? Part one, panic attacks and flashbacks. So I'm going to explain this from a hypnotherapist's perspective and from a neurological perspective, because there are certain things that are actually going on within the central nervous system that are happening when your partner is experiencing these moments. They're not just having a really big anxiety, their mind is actually regressing them back to the moment they experienced the trauma, back to the moment where maybe they had their first panic attack, or back to the feelings that sparked their first panic attack. So that could be feeling of trapped, feeling of not being able to get out, feeling claustrophobic, which is all kind of trapped, but you get what I mean. So something very important at this stage, do not touch them. That sounds a little counterintuitive for most of us who have been raised in a more stable environment, because many of us are taught that love is an embrace, and if you want to comfort someone, you embrace them, right? And I know I am an incurable hugger, but do not touch your partner if they are having a panic attack or a flashback, because what that's going to do is it's actually going to ground them into the situation. It's going to make it feel more real for them. And if you do decide to go for an embrace and like a hug, it is most likely that they're going to feel trapped. They're going to go into fight or flight. They might lash out physically, which we don't want that for you, or they might go into freeze and just feel even more helpless, and it's just going to ground them into that experience. So resist the urge to touch them. I know that that's a normal response for comfort, but this is not the time. The next one is keep your voice level. Do not panic with them. Again, I know this seems really like I shouldn't be saying this, but when we see our loved ones suffering like that, it's really hard not to freak out a little bit and say, oh my God, what's wrong? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So all that's going to do is it's going to build up the energy, and it's just going to bring them over the edge, and it's going to make them feel like they're hurting you, and it's going to give them more of that feeling of panic, more of that feeling of doing something wrong, and we don't want that. So part two. So it's going to be a question that's on your mind, but it's a question that you really don't want to ask in that moment. What's wrong? Because here's the thing, when your partner is having a flashback or a panic attack, they are in a fully regressed state. They are quite literally in this moment of trauma or chaos or fight or flight, and they may not consciously know in the moment, or they might not be able to articulate what exactly is wrong. So asking them what's wrong is going to feel really, really just crowding. It might even feel panicky to them. It might even feel as though, oh great, now I'm freaking you out, and this is all just, and it just begins to spiral from there, because they don't want to freak you out. They're already having the experience, and to see their partner then responding in a way that seems as though they're panicking just compounds the issue. So instead, a better way of approaching it might be to say, in a very calm, grounded state, okay, I'm here for you. Whenever you're ready, just let me know what you need. I am here for you no matter what. And that will give them a little bit of space as things kind of start to shift, to gradually let you know what you need. It lets them know that they have space, but it also lets them know that they have your support. Another thing, this is not the time to try to logic them out of it. And it can seem like a very intuitive way to bring somebody back to reality, right? When we're in normal day-to-day conversations, sometimes we can get people back with logic, like, okay, no, you're in the room, look around, you're in. And some of this might be something that you and your partner can use depending on how you interact with each other. But saying, nope, it's in the past, don't worry about it, it's not happening right now. Yes, they know this, but none of that matters, because the brain is not operating logically right now. The brain is back here. And the brain's not operating logically right now. So if you're trying to use logic to bring them back, and especially, I love you dudes, I love you gents, but you are notorious, especially for attempting to use logic in a moment of emotional or mental overload. And love you for it, but it's just, you're gonna be speaking different languages. When the brain is in that regressed state, they are often back in the moment of trauma, and often in already kind of a heightened state of, I'm doing something wrong. Because that's where a lot of trauma stems from, is childhood, and children think that they have done something wrong in the early stages. They don't realize it's the outside world that's screwed up. So logic can feel like you're telling them they're doing something wrong, and it's going to make them feel worse. It's going to make them feel as though they are at fault. Part 3. This is for you partners. One thing that you can do that is going to be helpful is do try to stay in the room, unless your partner asks otherwise. But I would really try to at least stay in the room with them. Don't crowd, don't get next to them unless they ask for it. Don't try to hold them, as I've said in part 1, but do maybe stay like a chair or two away, or at the opposite end of the sofa, and just stay in the room, because a lot of trauma can also be linked to abandonment. And it might feel intuitive to also say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna let you have this moment, just come and find me when you're ready, because you don't want to overcrowd, but that can actually feel like abandonment in a regressed state. So stay in the room, stay calm, stay grounded, and I'm gonna say it is gonna be challenging. I acknowledge that. It sucks to see your partner suffering, especially when you love them so much. The second thing I have to offer you is, please know that this is not a reflection of you. This is not a reflection of how good of a partner you are. Some of us, we want to heal our partners. A, you're never supposed to be your partner's healer, but B, if your partner is having a flashback or a panic attack, this got nothing to do with you unless you are being abusive, in which case, go see some help. But if you're in an otherwise healthy relationship, their flashback is related to their trauma. This is not a reflection of how you are as a partner. If you cannot stop this flashback, which you cannot, this is not a reflection of you being not enough. So please try to gently remember that this is something that they're working through. This is not a reflection of you. This is not a reflection of their love for you. This is not a reflection of how safe or how loving of a relationship you have set up. It's got nothing to do with that. It's the brain doing its thing. So, if they do get into this fight or flight mode, please try to keep yourself safe as well. Again, don't crowd them, because that can often lead to striking out. That can often lead to a fight response or a flight response, and the body just feels like it has to do anything it can to get away, which your partner does not want to hurt you either. So be gentle on yourself in this moment, and a trick to getting grounded is taking a deep breath, actually focusing on your shoulders and letting your shoulders just drop, really intentionally setting that, feeling that grounding down through your spine, and just taking a deep breath and saying, okay, this is not about me. I'm going to focus on what's happening over here in a loving way and being peaceful. Happy healing.